Do you think it's fair to say that much of the rest of the world considers us major terrorists?
I think there's no question about it. I mean, recent polls of the past few years have shown that people in other parts of the world consider President Bush more dangerous than Osama bin Laden, more dangerous than Saddam Hussein. Now, why is that? I mean, to American ears, that's unimaginable. But what they see the United States having suffered a terrorist attack, 9/11, terrible terrorist attack. They see the United States responding by its own terrorism, not by focusing on who did this attack, let's find them, not treating it like a police operation or an international police operation, but simply going ahead and bombing Afghanistan, killing 3,000 or more civilians in Afghanistan without any particular effect on Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, terrorism. And then you see us going into Iraq. And now, and I've just recently seen figures by an organization that has worked very hard to compile figures on the civilian dead in Iraq as a result of this very short war, and they come up with figures like 10, 15, 20,000 civilians. Americans don't even know this because all we're focused on is the fact that every day we lose another 2, 1, 3 soldiers, several hundred by now. But when the rest of the world knows this better than we do, they get better news than we do. They don't listen to Fox television. They don't listen to CNN. They have much better news sources. They know what the United States has done. And also, I think this is also true, they have a memory of Vietnam, which is being lost in the United States. To me, it's interesting that in our culture and on television and in the movies, they're bringing back World War II in a very heavy way. Saving Private Ryan, and the stories of D-Day and the 101st Airborne, bringing back World War II. Why? Because World War II immediately conjures up the image of a just war and the enemy as Hitler. They don't bring up Vietnam. But among Europeans, and I think other people in the world who opposed the American war in Vietnam, to a far greater extent and earlier than the Americans did, they still remember that the United States was responsible for killing several million people in Vietnam. They can't forget that. So they see the history of the United States in Vietnam, Central America, supporting death squads in Central America, the results being hundreds of thousands of lives being lost in Guatemala, El Salvador. They know this in a way that Americans don't.
There were 3 million people dead in Vietnam. And I suppose had we not intervened, the figure would have been a few 100,000, perhaps as many as 1 million. But 3 million, not a chance, not a chance. And people don't remember what the havoc that our sanctions wrought in the last 10 years on Iraq. Putting aside the question whether Saddam Hussein is a good man or a bad man, nobody's going to say Saddam Hussein is anything but horrendously evil. But it was children who basically bore the brunt, as I understand it, who basically bore the brunt of our sanctions there.
Yeah. Here's another instance of how the media have kept the American people really ignorant of what has been going on. Because what you talked about, the sanctions that were going on for 10 years, and by the way, under both Democratic and Republican administrations, before people get too idealistic and romantic about the Democrats, these sanctions, according to the UN, killed perhaps 1 million people and several 100,000 children.
This excerpt is brought to you by the Massachusetts School of Law, the leader of reform in legal education and a leader in multimedia education for the public. To view the full interview and for a full listing of MSL's programs, log on to mslaw.edu.